good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adriana.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are Uplifting Positive Stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
And happy slightly early 4th of July for those who celebrate in the States here. Hope you got some fun plans this coming weekend, or did have fun plans if we're listening after the 4th of July, after the holiday.
Yes. Well, today's episode here today is all about anonymous acts. I'm going to have some really cool stories here about people that did things without expecting anything in return, and oftentimes without the people even knowing who did it. So that's really, really cool.
We'll know.
We'll know because they posted.
Maybe not who specifically. We'll know what.
We'll know what they did, which is very, very cool. I love these kind of stories. I like when it's anonymous stuff. I think that's super, super cool. All right, so the first one here comes from the subreddit Ask Reddit, and the question was, what are random acts of kindness you have done? And someone said, many years ago, a friend of mine was in a terribly toxic relationship. He had already literally bankrupted her and was increasingly controlling and abusive. Her life was one big, ugly bowl of stress and unhappiness. I knew I couldn't get her to leave him, but I knew that I could bolster her strength and self-esteem and remind her about all the people that care about her, so I put together a package of things for her. It included a grocery store gift card, some trinkety things I knew that she'd like funny ice cube trays, tea towels, etc., a cute purse, a couple easy meal ingredients, dry pasta and sauce, etc., and a long letter detailing how important it was that she take care of herself and how her happiness mattered. I put it all in a box and then I mailed it out to her anonymously, to the point that I went to a different postal area so that she couldn't track it to me that way. She's a smart one. And when she called me in tears to ask if I was the person who had sent her the package, I denied it, because getting any gratitude or glory was not part of what I wanted. 2 months later, she finally got the guts and gave him the boot. And now, almost 10 years later, she's happily married to a wonderful man with 2 great kids. And she keeps the letter framed on her wall. She still has no idea that it was me.
Man, how do you keep that lie up for 10 years?
Right? I think that's such a good idea, because I think a lot of times we in our lives put up with things that we don't deserve because we don't feel worthy to stand up for ourselves, and because we are coming from a place of not feeling worthy enough ourselves. And a lot of times when someone's in an unhealthy relationship, it can feel hard when someone's just telling you why are you putting up with this? Why are you putting up with this? And you should leave him, or whatever it may be.
Well, from your perspective, you might feel like you're the problem, or you deserve those things.
Exactly. And so to come at it, that's such a great idea, to come at it from a different perspective of, maybe if I show this person how worthy they are and really make them aware of that, maybe they themselves will come to the conclusion that they deserve better. Mm-hmm. I think that's such a great way and to do it anonymously, so that it's nothing can be traced back to that person. It feels bigger in that sense then, like more people feel that way, even if it's just one person that wrote that letter. I feel like because it's anonymous, it can feel even more significant in that sense. Yeah, I just thought that was such a cool idea, that with that care package of things that she thought she would really like to brighten her day and make her happier. Because I feel like also when we are in a more positive mindset, we start realizing when things are not lining up with that kind of lifestyle that we want, you know? Yeah. So I think that's really awesome, and what a cool idea.
Mm-hmm. And you're never, to their point, when they start off, I know I was not going to get her to break up with them. Of course not. You can't force anyone to do anything, but you can be a good friend by trying to have the focus be making them feel good about themselves.
Exactly.
And they can then hopefully make their own decisions
that is best for them.
Yeah, from a more clear mindset that's less toxically drained.
Exactly. Our next story here comes from that same subreddit, same question, and someone else responded, my husband and I try to pay for a random person's breakfast. We usually go out for breakfast on Saturday mornings. It never fails. We usually see an older couple or a single person. We really don't have any rhyme or reason for our choice. We try to catch the eye of the server and ask them to give us their check, or ask the manager to take the extra money to cover the check. The rule is they cannot tell them who did it. It is easily the best part of our Saturday morning. So they do that on Saturday mornings. Every week they pick a different couple or a different person that they're covering their bill for. Isn't that cool?
It'd be kind of fun to like roll, okay, like they count the number of tables. Like, all right,
Roll a dice.
let's roll a
Who
10
is it gonna
sider.
be today? Yeah, I just think that's such a cool idea. If you have the means, that's a really neat way to make someone's day.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And then our next story here comes from the subreddit Ask Reddit. The question for this one was, what is the nicest thing you've done for somebody else? And someone wrote, I gave $2,000 towards my former girlfriend's tuition anonymously. Her
Whoa.
family doesn't have a lot of money. Her stepfather is a pastor, her mother doesn't work, and she works 2 jobs on top of school. Her stepfather had destroyed our relationship and didn't like me, so I chose to do it nameless. That way, she wouldn't have to lie to him if he asked if I gave it, since she didn't know, and she wouldn't have to worry about that kind of stress. I planned to give her more, much more, but I didn't want her to have to declare it on taxes. If she didn't need it for her tuition, it would be then left to her and her name exclusively as a protection for her money. Her education and success mean the world to me, even after all the silent / terrible things done / said. This will probably get buried, but I wanted to share it.
So they're not together anymore.
No.
Did they do that while they were together, or
No,
after they were?
it sounds like it was after. According to him or her, it sounds like her stepdad kind of got in the middle of their relationship and kind of destroyed it. So it doesn't sound so much like it was just them that had the issues and stuff, but it sounds like that kind of led to the decline of their relationship. And then afterwards, they decided to
Well,
do this.
obviously, it was good enough in a way where you felt compelled to.
Like they
contribute
cared,
to the
obviously still
college
cared.
fund.
Yeah, that's super, super kind. And to do it anonymously and stuff. Super, super kind. On to our next story here. This one is from that subreddit Ask Reddit, and the question was, what is the nicest thing you've done? Here we go. I'm a bit hazy on the timeline as it's been a while. I once worked with a young lady who was newly eloped / engaged / married to an Indian.
That's a lot of
they didn't
slashes.
know. They didn't know. To an Indian gentleman, and were expecting an infant daughter. He was just getting out of school and found a job in a city about 2 hours away, so they were going to move together soon. They had been excited about a trip back to India to visit the in-laws. There was this narrow window of time while she quit her job with us and before he had to start work that they hoped to make the trip. She had always been the center of the lunchroom conversations with her friendly demeanor. Over the course of several weeks, we heard about all the planning. Everything from the clothing to the cooking was going to be an adventure, not to mention the inherent nervousness of visiting in-laws for the first time. Then, one day, she came in just looking rather dejected. It took a little while, but eventually she told us that they had taken a look at plane prices and finances and decided they couldn't really afford to make the trip, even with his family's help, given the moving and baby expenses and so forth coming up. She was sad because it would mean at least several years before they would get to meet their relatives. Without saying anything, I left work during my lunch break to drive down to a neighborhood bank and withdrew a large sum from my savings, about the price of one of the international plane tickets at the time. I left it in a blank envelope and typed a little note saying I hoped this would help make the trip affordable as I knew how much it meant to them. They had a great trip to India, and I was happy knowing that I helped them make it happen.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
Flights are not cheap.
Especially an international flight to India.
No.
Ooh, that's expensive. And to do it anonymously, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this was a stranger. It sounds like they were coworkers. So, like, to do that anonymously so that it wasn't a big deal and wasn't out on the open that she did this for them, that's really huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And for them, and it wasn't just like a vacation. Like, this is meeting their relatives, especially with a baby on the way. So, or was it a baby that they already had? I can't remember. Yeah, they were expecting a daughter, so that she's pregnant. So to be able to meet the relatives and stuff before they have the baby, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was super cool.
Oh, yeah. And that's such a, again, tickets are expensive.
They are. Yeah, so huge. Huge, huge, huge. And that was from their savings, too, which is like, it's a big move to do.
Mm-hmm. It's a big sacrifice.
Yeah. So, all right, on to our next story here. There's so many good ones in this episode. It's just been really fun to read these, and I'm excited. We'll share this. This one comes from the subreddit Random Acts of Kindness, and this one is titled Anonymously Gifted Singing Classes to a Girl Who Can't Afford Them But Really Loves Musical Theater. Just on the title alone, that's really, really sweet and wholesome. Here we go. There's this girl I met through community theater a few years ago. She's in her late teens, so significantly younger than me, 25 female. I've been doing musical theater for years, and she's more of a newcomer, so I've always tried to give her advice and feedback if she asks for it, be supportive, even taught her how to braid her hair for the latest show we did. She's a really sweet kid who works really hard and loves musicals, but she's from a low-income family that can't afford paying for extra classes. She told me the other day that she'd been taking a trial singing class with a teacher who's a friend of mine, and she loved it, but sadly wouldn't be able to continue until she saved up enough money from her part-time job, which would take a while because her family needs her to help out with bills at home. This made me sad because she's a good kid and musical theater means a lot to her, so I figured I might as well help since I have the means. Her birthday is coming up next month, so I talked to my friend, the singing teacher, and worked out a 12-class deal. After I explained the situation, my friend also agreed to give the kid a discounted rate for future classes so she can hopefully afford to keep taking them. I made a gift voucher card gifting her the 12 classes, anonymously of course, and put it in an envelope. Then asked the stage manager to give it to her privately after rehearsals without saying who it's from. No idea what her reaction was, as I haven't seen her since then, but I hope it made her happy.
Man.
Right?
Well,
Again,
imagine she'd be excited.
Yeah, right. Singing classes also are not cheap either. So, again, a huge thing to do for somebody. Super, super, super nice. That's so awesome. And they don't understand how much that could actually really affect the rest of her life, too, because if she's wanting to pursue anything in musical theater, that getting that leg up by having singing lessons, you learn so much. Like I did singing lessons growing up, and you learn so much that you wouldn't in any other setting than a private music lesson like that. And being able to have that confidence that you get from it for musical theater is huge. So you're gifting her possibly her future in some means, which is huge. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, and again, to do it anonymously.
Yeah, again, yeah. And then you get to see her reaction. Because, it's really cool when you do something anonymous, but you can kind of, like, peek and see how they react and be like, yeah, they loved that. But if you don't even get to see it, like, just to know that you did something great and they probably were really happy, that takes a lot to do that. So that's really, really cool.
I imagine they'd like it.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean,
really tragic.
They already
if they
said that
didn't.
they started. They already said that they've been working with this teacher as a trial.
Yeah,
that they
that's
loved
fair.
it. So they're gonna love it.
That's true.
Super cool. So yeah, again, really fun stories in this episode. All right, on to our next story here. This one comes from the subreddit Random Acts of Kindness, and it is titled Random Act of Kindness, I Got Ding Dong Ditched by Angels. Here we go.
Okay.
I just wanted to share something amazing that happened not too long ago, and I hope it puts the biggest smile on your face like it did mine. It's mid-afternoon, and my mom and I were in the kitchen making homemade sushi and jamming out to the cranberries when we hear the doorbell ring. We both look at each other in confusion for a brief moment because neither of us were expecting anyone. So I immediately walk over to the door and look out the peephole. Nobody's there. I waited a couple of minutes and then opened the door. We also have a locked screen door on the outside of the front door, and right away, I see two small folded up pieces of paper laying on the ground. I'm looking around like, what the heck? Is this some kind of weird prank? So I quickly open the screen door, grab the papers, and go back inside. And I unfold these tiny notes to find what is clearly the handwriting of a child. One note says, Dear neighbor, continue dreaming, working hard, and being awesome. No one is just like you. Love, S.O. Happy for you. The other note says, Dear neighbor, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. You got this. Just work it out. I know you can do it. Just so try your hardest. Signed, anonymous neighbor. I included pics from my mom's Facebook post. When I tell you, my heart instantly melted. So my mom and I decided to check our cameras to see who left the notes. And lo and behold, it was two darling little girls around the ages of 8 to 10. We watched them carefully and quietly tiptoe up to our house, grab the notes out of a bag, toss them on the ground, and ring our doorbell, and then take off. We were cracking up. It was the best ding-dong ditching that's ever happened to me. And I must say, whoever is raising these sweet girls is raising them right. That small act of kindness meant the absolute world to us. And even though the girls don't know this, the encouragement and support those simple words carried were exactly what we needed at the time. I ended up seeing them strolling down the street again about an hour later while I was walking my dog, and they were hugging each other, holding hands, and giggling like crazy. It was the cutest thing ever. What I would do to be that age again.
The youth of the kindness revolution.
I never saw them before that, and I haven't seen them since. And although I'm not a religious person at all, I do believe the universe brought them to our door that day for a reason. And if you're reading this post right now, I believe you were meant to see these notes for a reason too. I would love the opportunity to thank them one day, and I would definitely love to shake their parents' hands as well. That is what life is all about, my friends. Spreading love and good vibes. It sort of makes me wonder, what would the world look like if everyone was doing kind things like this for each other every day? All I know is, now I am determined to pay it forward. Yeah,
That's cute.
Isn't that a really sweet story?
Kids can be really kind and caring and
Yeah.
heartwarming, and
Super sweet.
they just went for it.
There was another story I saw that was on another thread. I might have put it on this podcast. I can't remember. But basically, this little girl would draw little cute photos in crayon and like write like a sweet message and put them under the doors of people in her apartment building. And like this guy was super moved by it and put it on. He just was having a really rough day and he got this little random drawing from this little girl under his door, and he like put it on his fridge, and it like just helped him get through the days because it was just a sweet random thing from a stranger. And yeah, so super sweet how little things like that can just really make your day and really give you a lot of optimism about the world in general, that there's a lot of good out there. So yeah, just really cool.
No, it's true.
Yeah, super sweet.
I feel like that'd probably move us if we had that.
I know. Can you imagine? Especially watching it back on the video of the little girls like tiptoeing up with the thing. That's so cute. And then just booking it out there. Like so sweet. Oh, that's such a cool idea.
The sneaky kids aren't aware of the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly. They're all giggling and stuff. That's super funny, but super wholesome. So this next one is crazy. So this is a news article from Fox News, and it is titled "Baby with Fatal Brain Disorder Saved by Anonymous $47,000 Donation."
That's a
Anonymous
few dollars.
$47,000 donation. So a Florida baby was given just weeks to live after they were born with a rare and severe congenital brain disorder called HPE. Apparently, it affects about 1 in 10,000 live births, and most infants do not survive beyond the first week, according to statistics. And this little baby, Millie, was born with that severe form of the disease. To quote the article, "We found out that she has a rare brain malformation where part of her brain didn't develop and the other part didn't develop correctly," Meg Longhenry said in an on-camera interview with Fox News Digital. I believe, yeah, that's her mom. So there's no division between the two hemispheres, and the middle is hollow in the brain. Yeah. So they spent 2 months in the hospital. They were sent to hospice with the baby, given about 4 to 6 months to live. And to quote the article, the dad said, "God had something else in mind," said Bill Longhenry. "God had a different plan, and only God was able to really make that decision." And a friend of theirs recommended that they go see Dr. Brandon Crawford, who's a functional neurologist at the Neurosolutions Center of Austin. And he kind of specializes in using non-invasive techniques without drugs or surgery for these kind of cases, and he decided to take it on. So they use the combinations of laser light therapies, acoustic wave therapy, sound waves to stimulate natural healing processes, and primitive reflex integration, which retrains the brain-body connection and helps babies learn to better control their movements. So it apparently was working really, really well. They were saying that she was actually starting to see like huge growths and stuff in that area, being able to crawl on her own. That's kind of what they're working on. Joint tension, ability to eat, being able to vocalize and say things like mom and dad, stuff like that. So they said like they were really starting to see a huge difference after doing all these therapies. But after a while, they started having financial constraints, and they were starting to think they might have to cancel the treatments because they couldn't afford them anymore. The doctor was like, "Nope, we're just going to do this next treatment because I'm already too far in, and I really want to see how far we can go with this and stuff, considering she's already outlived what they thought she would, and she's making significant, strides. I want to see this through." So he was kind of doing it, sounds like pro bono for a bit. But then they were about to do another regenerative medicine on her. And a couple of hours later, they got a random phone call at the hospital, it sounds like. It was another patient who had been following Millie's story, and she said, "I feel like I'm supposed to donate something for Millie's case." And my front desk said, "Well, that would be amazing." The donor offered to cover the total outstanding balance for Millie's treatment, more than $47,000.
Damn. So it wasn't pro bono then, if there was outstanding.
But like he was, instead of having them pay up front, he was like, "I'm going to do it, and then we can figure out costs later, figure out something else," kind of thing. Is what it sounded like.
But they're still going to have to pay at some point, which is why this donation is
but they didn't
helpful.
have like the means to do it up front, it sounds like. And he was like, "Well, let's just keep going," basically.
Right. But not quite pro bono, just flexible.
I guess, yeah, that's fair. apparently her journey is still not over with all these things. They're still having to do a lot of different things to help her out, a lot of different
Oh, I wouldn't be
therapies.
surprised if it was their entire life.
Oh,
to
for
some
sure.
to some extent.
Ultimately, the Long Henry family did find out who covered the medical expenses, a previous patient of Dr. Crawford's, and they were able to call her and thank her for the donation. But up front, it was completely anonymous. They didn't know the person at all. And if you want more information about Millie's journey with all of this, there's a website, movingmountainsformillie.org, which is also in the article. The address, so you can follow it and look at it if you want. There's also an Instagram page to be able to hear about her progresses, which is really, really cool. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Super cool.
Super generous. Attempt at being anonymous denied.
But still, that they didn't know the family at all and decided to do this, felt moved to do that. That's incredible. And giving this kid another chance, that's super, super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that was an awesome story.
Have you ever experienced a anonymous donation or have given one of some kind?
I don't know if this really counts or not. And kind of. They didn't know us, but there was one time when we were in a Culver's drive-through and the car in front of us paid for our entire meal out of nowhere. That was super. They got to the checkout thing and they were like, "Oh, the car in front of you paid for your meal." We were like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
So that was incredibly, incredibly nice. And with that, we will end today's podcast episode. Tune in next week. Next week's episode is all about being the change you want to see in the world. So yeah, it's going to be a really great episode. I'm excited.
And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button or leave a comment. Let us know what anonymous things you've done or have received from.
Yeah, that'd be super cool to hear those kind of stories. So please do. And yeah, we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.
And stay positive.